Evelyn Cole had seen enough of life to know that time was the greatest teacher. At 73, she was no longer rushing about in the whirlwind of obligations and responsibilities that had consumed her younger years. With her children grown and her late husband's memory a quiet comfort, Evelyn found herself free to travel, to read, to walk through her garden at her own pace. But there was one lesson she had learned, and it was one she wished someone had told her long ago. When you get older, no matter how free you are, don't visit the homes of certain people. It was a chilly autumn afternoon when she sat with her friend Nora, sipping tea by the window. "Evelyn," Nora asked, "why don't you come to Mary's party next weekend? It'll be a grand gathering." Evelyn shook her head, her gaze distant. "I've stopped visiting Mary's home. There's a reason." Nora leaned forward, curious. "What reason?" Evelyn hesitated, then said quietly, "Let me tell you a story. 4 kinds of homes I've learned to stay away from." The home of the constant complainer. Years ago, Evelyn had been close friends with Lorraine. Lorraine was always eager to invite her over for tea, lunch, or just a chat. But every visit left Evelyn drained. Lorraine complained about everything: her husband's shortcomings, her children's failures, her neighbor's noise, the weather, the world. At first, Evelyn thought listening was an act of kindness, but soon she realized that Lorraine's endless complaints seeped into her own thoughts, clouding her mind with negativity. After each visit, Evelyn felt heavier, burdened by problems that weren't hers. She learned that no matter how free her time was, visiting someone whose home was filled with constant complaints robbed her of peace. The home of the perpetual gossiper. There was Helen, a lively woman who seemed to know everything about everyone. Evelyn had enjoyed Helen's company at first, until she realized that Helen's warmth came with a price. Whenever Evelyn visited, Helen would share whispers about neighbors, friends, even strangers passing on the street. The gossip was juicy, but it left a sour taste. Evelyn noticed that Helen would often turn on people she'd once praised. She realized that if Helen spoke of others so easily, she must also speak of her. The gossip, like a tangled web, drew Evelyn into its stickiness, and she left feeling complicit. Evelyn decided she valued integrity and peace over salacious stories. The home of the envious. Then there was Margaret. Margaret's home was beautiful: gleaming floors, artful decorations, the scent of fresh flowers always in the air. But conversations with Margaret were always laced with comparisons. She would subtly point out what she had that others didn't, what her children achieved, what vacations she took. Evelyn, who was content with her simpler life, found herself doubting her own happiness after spending time with Margaret. She noticed Margaret's envy even for trivial things: a neighbor's new car, another's garden blooms. Evelyn understood that envy is a poison, and those who foster it invite you to drink with them. She learned not to step into that house again. The home of the perpetual victim. Finally, there was Joan. Joan always had a story of misfortune: how the world was against her, how she was always misunderstood, how luck had never been on her side. Evelyn sympathized deeply at first. She offered help, listened patiently. But after years, she realized Joan didn't want solutions. It's true. Sometimes after visiting certain people, I feel tired, almost as if I'm carrying something that isn't mine. "That's exactly it," Evelyn said, nodding. "We often think of freedom in our later years as the ability to go wherever we want, visit anyone we please. But real freedom, I've learned, is the freedom to choose peace over chaos, kindness over gossip, hope over despair. And sometimes that means staying away from certain homes." Nora looked out the window at the fading light. "Do you think it's selfish?" "No," Evelyn said firmly. "It's wisdom. You're not shutting them out of your life, but you're choosing not to step into a space that drains you. You can be kind, compassionate, and caring, but from a distance if necessary. It's not selfish to protect your peace." They sat in silence for a while, yet the room filled with the soft ticking of the clock and the crackling of the fireplace. Later, as Evelyn walked home under the golden leaves of the setting sun, she felt a lightness in her steps. The freedom she cherished wasn't just the absence of obligations. It was the quiet strength to say no to what disturbed her spirit. She thought of the homes she no longer visited. She didn't regret stepping away.